As soon as we start building on Webflow, we feel something. We are like, the business is here. Content, it's like selling at scale. If I create this content and it's seen by 1 million of people, like it's crazy. I would say you don't sell at all the same in France and in US. Like it's not the same sales process at all. As soon as we start like asking some question and just hitting the share button, that's the best weapon.
Hey, quick heads up. This is second to last episode before my summer break. So there will be one more coming and then I'll be back in August with more conversations. Make sure that you're following so you don't miss anything when I return. But yeah, thanks for listening and enjoy the episode. Okay, Florian. So you were a part of the Webflow Momentum Tour, which visited Paris. What was the experience like?
It was great. Like, to give a bit of context, like the Momentum Tour was like Webflow doing like a roadshow across like main city in Europe, and they choose France, Paris, and we've done like with them 2 events, and the experience overall was amazing. But what I like the most is like the message sent by Webflow, which were like, okay, we arrive in Europe, and right now you can count us as a partner, like as a strong partner, and let's do things together. So yeah, love it.
Yeah. Was there a big audience? Did you get like people in person there?
Yeah, like I would say between 30 to 40 people per event. It was things that we target, like keeping it close, not that big, just to have like good conversation with the right people at the right moment. It was not that easy to fill up like with a very qualified audience the Momentum Tour, because it was not like a community event, which were like mainly why Webflow was known for in the past. It was like more like corporate business-wise events. But yeah, we've done one, done amazing. We've done a second one that was amazing as well. And I think we can expect more events like that in the future.
Yeah, that's good. Like that Webflow does those kinds of things. What were like the topics discussed there?
I would say that we have tried to split the topics in 2 ways. Like the first event was more about like Webflow capabilities as a tool, just to set up like, okay, Webflow arriving in France. All the people who don't know like Webflow, look what you can do with Webflow. And we've done something like, very a bit cliche, like using like a Tour Eiffel rooftop and everything, just to have like a marketing presence. And then the second event was more with like all the topics around in the last couple of months, which was like more about high visibility, high powered features, and all of that kind.
Yeah, beautiful. And if there's some agency owners listening to this, would you recommend doing a thing like that with Webflow?
Yeah, 100%. Like, we didn't do that much of that in-person event with clients and leads by the past. It was more like an idea coming from Webflow, basically. But that's what we are. That's what we wait as a partnership as well. Like you're both sides and both giving some good idea to gain like market share. And it was like a total different way of connecting with people, and we are very happy with the result.
Beautiful. Okay, let's do a little intros before we go any deeper. So you are now listening to Webflow and Friends podcast. My name is Janne Parri. I'm your host. My guest today is Florian Bodelot. He is the co-founder of Digitop, a Webflow premium enterprise partner from Paris. And Digitop was founded in 2021, and you guys have grown to be a big player in the Webflow sphere. You have won some awards, one of them being the Webflow Partner of the Year award. You have delivered a bunch of cool projects. Just check out the portfolio. And you are actively hiring new people. You are growing the team. And Digitop is doing so much more than just like Webflow builds. You have the strategic services, the design stuff, obviously the SEO, AEO, things that need to be there nowadays. And alongside all of that agency building, you also have built like the biggest French-speaking followings out there, with over 12,000 people following Digitop only on YouTube, which is cool. And I want to visit that topic too on this episode. But before we go there, I kind of want to know about the early days, like when you founded Digitop with Thomas in 2021. Did you know that Webflow will be like your main focus?
At first, no. Like when we decide to build Digidop, just to give you a bit of context, like Thomas and I were like still in the business school, and we just want to launch a business. It was like just after the COVID era, and after the COVID era, we were thinking like there is a lot of things to do around services, around green, around like helping company to do better. And we decide, okay, let's do like a services business. We are going to be like advisor for helping small and medium businesses to take the wave. And we need to build a website, because you need a website to just have like a web presence. And by building a website or on website, we decide to build it on Webflow. We just basically like compare few tools, which were like at the time like Wix, WordPress, and Webflow. And we decide to go on Webflow, luckily. And I don't know, like as soon as we start building on Webflow, we feel something like, like some people talk about like the founder instinct. And it's kind of the feeling I have looking back to it. It's when we start building with it, we are like, okay, the business is here. Like it's Webflow, the business. And so basically Digidop start like pivoting from day one. And we decide to become like the first Webflow agency, because at that time there were like nobody like really positioning themselves as a Webflow agency in France.
Yeah. And did you find that you have to like sell Webflow or like tell more about Webflow? Was it like already known in France?
It was known from like the startup ecosystem, for like kind of the people who were like already playing with low code, no code wave and trend, I will say, but nobody were like betting 100% on Webflow. It was too small. The market was too small, and it was like just a tool. So at first, like our very, very first client were like more people who need like just website, basically. So we present Webflow as a solution, and they didn't argue that much about it. And after, when we decided to position ourselves like strong on Webflow, they were like having no competition around it on the web. So basically, we were like it was pretty fast and pretty easy, let's say, to rank among like the top 3 position on the Agence Webflow, which means Webflow agency. And like people were like wanting some Webflow, because Webflow was doing like a crazy great job at marketing at that time. And some people were like wanting to be curious about Webflow. They reach out of us naturally. So we don't think we have to oversell it at first. It was like people who want Webflow coming to us. The only things we will have to argue a bit was like the lack of competition was like putting us trouble to go to like a bigger company, because bigger companies are like, okay, look, you are the only Webflow agency. Maximum, you have 2 Webflow agencies in France. What if I go with you and it doesn't work well? The market was not big enough to make people think that Webflow is a strong tool enough.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just like one person team, but I had the same feeling and same challenge here in Finland, that there were not too many folks there. So it kind of was a risk to go with Webflow, even if it's like a totally cool platform.
But when do you start in Finland to position yourself on Webflow?
I should look it up. I remember that my Webflow account was made in 2019, so I guess it was like maybe a year after that or 2 years after that. So I was in the first wave about the same.
I'm on the same. I'm on the same. Like the no code. It was like the no code way. It was cool time.
Totally. But now you are doing like a project for international clients all around the world. So how did that come up? And did you like have to break the borders in a sense, or was the international angle there from the beginning?
So at first we were like very focusing on the French market. We were like, okay, let's do it step by step. So we decided to go on the French market. That was the market we know the most and the better. And at a point we were like feeling mature enough to go globally. We were thinking it's good as well for like our brand. We always, since the beginning, we want like a premium brand, and we feel that being an international global brand, it's more associated with what Digidop want to be. And so, like 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago, we decided to officially go global. That means like have like a real global market strategy. And it took us like 6 months to a year to build that project, because we have to rebuild a lot of things internally in terms of how we work, in terms of how we position ourselves, in terms of how our website is built, and a lot of things of that kind. And then we have like a very strong inbound strategy. So we have to adjust that a bit. And right now, I will say that this is successful, because the success can be defined in the term of, okay, we have inbound lead coming from all over the world. We have like a lead coming from US, from France, from all of that place. So I'm pretty happy with that choice. And it brings us like as well some opportunities. Like, look, I don't know how you know us, but by example, if we produce content only in French, maybe you never reach out of me and propose to host us today.
Yeah. I checked your YouTube and saw that. Okay, there's like a huge Webflow related YouTube channel called Digitop. And I was like, how did I miss miss this? But then I realized that, okay,
because it's
in
French.
French.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's so cool that there can be huge like communities all around the internet and world that you do not even know about. And yeah, it's so cool that you are now playing on the international field. But I'm like curious about all the cultural differences. Like, have you found any how like let's say US, UK based companies were compared to French or anything like that?
Yeah. So I will split it in two ways. Like, I will split it in the being global in the marketing way and in a sales way. So in a marketing way, like being global permits me like to reach like a far more bigger audience. And by example, to make our brand Digidop known. I mean, known by partner, by potential future partner, by potential future clients, just brand awareness. And this is like extremely useful. And after in terms of sales, like at first we start like having like a lot of pipe coming from inbound just because LLM or SEO strategy. And we're like, okay, cool. Like we're ready to go. And after we realize like there's like several things to figure out operationally, because I will say you don't sell at all the same in France and in US. Like it's not the same sales process at all. And I suppose like maybe it's the same in Finland and if you sell as well with US. So this we learn it like I would say the hard way. Like we lose several leads and we're like, wow, how our closing number are so low in US compared to France. Why? And we just have to redo some other stuff. And after we're like, okay, it's cool. We start having like a lead from Australia. By example, we work with EMB Bank, which is like a big banking from Australia. And we start having like as well like clients from US. And we're like, okay, so like the time zone is crazy right now. And how we, we were like, how we operate it, because like, wow, we need to split the team. It's not going to work that way. So we have to make some choice. And we're like, okay, even going global, you can't go global and decide to take the world. I mean, not at our size, So we were like, okay, where we go, And we decided, okay, it's better for us maybe to focus on US, but East Coast, because East Coast is not crazy time zone with France.
Yeah.
And after we start thinking, okay, do we need to have some people maybe there to operate? So yeah, a lot of things goes on. The good thing is like we have inbound, we have lead, we have like adapt our sales process. Right now, I will say to be like a real global strong brand, we need to as well change a lot in the ops because we are a small lean team.
Yeah. I want to talk about like sales and all the team stuff and all of those, but I want to also hear about the concrete like learnings about like those cultural differences. Like what were the new stuff or different stuff that you found you need to do with US clients? And if there's someone in the US who wants to sell to France, what should they do?
I think a good example is as well when we sell with Webflow, like Webflow is like a US company and they have like sales US process. And when they arrive like earlier in the Europe, they were like, okay, we're just going to apply sales process from US. You will see who's going to work. It didn't, like that's why they contact as well on partner like you, like us to just go in each local market because each local market have its own specificities. And I really think that especially in Europe, but I will say like one concrete things is like the first call. In France, the first call is more like, to me, how I feel it, it's more like a meetup call. Like we just discover each other, asking questions. It's a chill call. We're just like trying to build trust, trying to build relationship. The first US call, you have to arrive strong on your delivery, It's already about like speak about number, about roadmap, about what you've done, about how it's going to be for them. I mean, you have like 15 to 20 minutes to convince them, like really, really convince them and being very concrete. In France, I feel if you arrive in the same way, they feel a bit aggressive, like, whoa, like, too much, too fast to speed. And so that was, I think, like our first learning. We were like having a lot of first call in US trying to sell in a relationship way, I would say, like in France. And it was not about that.
Yeah. And what about, I know that you are enterprise partner.
Yep.
Does that like differ when you level up to the enterprise level? Like what are the sales processes in there?
Oh yeah, it's definitely different. Like when you go to enterprise level, I would say that the first thing is most of the time we sell at 2 to 3 people. So when I say 2 to 3 people, I mean as well including partner. So just for those who don't know, like enterprise, like the highest like pricing and featured powerful of what Webflow can afford to you. But when you go to that level, it's requiring like most of the time like some technical, let's say some technical validation from your clients team as well. So I will say that the enterprise process is like a very long sales process. So you are here. First call is just qualification. As soon as you've qualification the call, after we go on like a demo phase, like just showcasing the platform. Then after we try to build the proposal, like we build the proposal with like Digidop, but as well with Webflow. So how to package everything for the clients to understand that we have like one partner providing the tech and one partner providing the services. And during all of that process, mainly you compete with other technology, other ecosystem, and like total different solution.
Yeah. The enterprise land is so curious.
Have you ever worked on enterprise deal or project? Or?
No. I had one client that was thinking that maybe they should go towards the enterprise thing, but that was too expensive for them and their use case. But I'm like on the fence about it. Like, on the other hand, it would be cool. Bigger projects are always somewhat cooler. But then as a one-person team, there's a lot of like responsibilities and such. So, yeah.
No. Enterprise project can come as well with a lot of surprise. By example, actually work with Orisha. You are maybe at the moment we are going to release this podcast, the project will be live. So just to give you a bit of context on Orisha, it's more than 500 static pages to migrate.
Exactly.
From like, just to give you like a bit of context of the scale, of the website, you have like 30 WordPress website. Each business unit of the company have its own WordPress website. So right now we build everything into one platform with like subfolder for each business unit. Okay. So 500 static page. We are just talking about the static page. Imagine right now we also have to migrate like all the content, the dynamic content and everything from 8 different WordPress websites, which is, for those who have already do big migration, they know like it's not going to be as smooth as you can imagine. And you need to have like a full team. You need to have someone to just manage the relationship with the customer all the time. Just that the customer feel you're here. You need to have Webflow on your side as well to be sure like everything in terms of the platform and technically is always ready. You need to have 1, maybe 2 developer full time. You need to have 1 people managing like the transfer, the migration, the SEO. You need to have 1 or 2 designer. And plus of that, you have like the whole team of the clients in front who have like their own designer, their own products. So yeah, it's kind of very cool project, very big scale, but it's not just building, you really have to, okay, let's think, let's build, let's see what's break, let's fix it, let's build again, that's cool.
It's a like team effort. And if there's some freelancers are tempted to somehow get into the enterprise stuff, maybe it is through some agency or a team, and that you could be one person helping in a bigger project or something like that.
And if your goal is just to close deal in enterprise, you can as well as like a solo can close a deal, like it can be like about like your client needs some feature, or you have like a very high traffic website, or you need some specific security features, or in Europe, by example, if you want like to have like custom hosting, GDPR like specificity and stuff, you can close deal thanks to that kind of argument. But the best way to close enterprise is like on bigger scale, like very up market, because like people who have like a big web strategy or web architecture, they don't see Webflow in that expensive.
Yeah. I have heard that competition, in a sense, like Webflow competition on that level can be like very expensive. Adobe experience managers and such can be super expensive.
It's just that you and I, we are born, in the Webflow, I say born in the Webflow world in terms of when he was like the no-code wave, building cool stuff, landing pages animation, but this is not at all the same market, So that's why we are like a bit like, enterprise is that big, is that expensive, but when you put all things together and what Webflow have became in terms of like the product and where it's going, it's not the same market at all.
Yeah. Do you remember your first like enterprise project?
Yeah,
what was
100%.
that?
I was very, very happy. Like, we're very, very happy because Thomas and I at first were sales. Like, we are not like, we have to go. Like, we can't like stay just a Webflow agency. It's not going to last that long anymore. And for like the just for the future of the company and just to stay in a good spot, we have to go enterprise. So we fix that as a goal with Thomas. We're like, we have to move the agency to an enterprise level. So let's get that kind of customer. And as soon as we've done it, I remember again, like with Stephanie, which is like the account executive at Webflow, we closed our first enterprise. We were like so happy. We were so happy. It's good feeling to, it's good feeling to reach some goal you've put all the time.
Oh, totally. And did you see any difference in the leads or contacts when you got that enterprise badge? Did it like move the needle or anything like that?
I would not say that it's the badge, like maybe the badge it's cool, but us, we feel more difference with like the awards when by example, winning like the Webflow Partner of the Year was big for us, and still because, by example, you introduce us with this, clients are always like appreciating to see that we are like recognized worldwide and so on. I will say what's changed the most about going enterprise, it's having in front of us clients who pay for enterprise and understand what their needs, how their team are built, what they do with the web, basically, which is like totally different from like our previous clients. And it's also give us like confidence in a way like, okay, so this market exists, it's not just about talk. For example, like right now, you hear me speaking, and maybe you are like, how this world really exists. And when you are in, you're like, okay, so this world exists. And after, I would say like the main difference is as soon as you start having that kind of use case, you can sell with it, And the best way to sell Webflow for me since day one is to show, like people need to show what you have built, how you've built it. And when you speak, to be confident that you are going to be the right partner to do it with them. So when you start having like 2, 3, 4 projects, big scale, big enterprise, you just open the laptop and see like, look, right now, my team is live building that. And you can just show to your clients and he know that you know. So
yeah, totally. Like show, don't tell.
Show, don't tell.
Yeah.
Show, don't tell. I mean, I'm always selling when I'm selling, like as soon as we start like asking me some question, I'm just hitting the share button, That's the best weapon.
Yeah, totally. But you mentioned that clients appreciate seeing that you are an active part of like the Webflow community, but I know that you are partner with like other tools like Localize, and there was some third tool too. Has those partner programs like helped you in the same way, or how would you compare those to Webflow partner program?
Yeah, by example, we are partner as well with OptiBase, and big shout out to this team. I really like this team and the product they built. They built around Webflow. It's very cool to see that there is still people like building on top of Webflow. That was like the energy in 2021, 22. Everyone was building around it, and like you do, And thank you for hosting me today. I really appreciate that. People are still building on top of that. And how it works, I will say it's 2 things. First, marketing wise, when you have like good partner, you do co-marketing together. And second, it's like as a client, you want your partner to give you like the best recommendation. And the best recommendation is not always the same tools, By example, if I'm always selling Webflow, optimize. I'm selling like at a point, the client will be like, I mean, maybe OptiBase was enough for me. Why do you recommend me Webflow optimize? It's not the right fit, and you lose the trust. So you need to keep that trust as a partner and just be sure you have like the right tools to recommend at the right moment, and not just always pushing to Webflow. It's maybe hard truth, but if you always sell Webflow, I think you lose a bit of your trust with your customer.
Oh, totally.
So we just try to be always aware of what tool is building on top of Webflow or around our ecosystem, and just to be sure we still provide like the best solution to our clients. At the end of the day, like clients pay us for like just giving us like or advice to help them win. That's it.
Totally. Yeah, it's somewhat suspicious if anyone says that Webflow or any other tool is the one tool for every use case. That is never the case. So you kind of have to know some other recommendations and when to use those. But one thing I noticed on your site was about your clients. It said that 60% of your clients are in the financial sector. So how has that come about, and was that like a goal? Did you try to get to that point?
No, I would say not at all at first. It came naturally. So to give you an example, a bit back in the past, we didn't have like a real positionment on industry, because there were like nobody competing against us on Webflow. So we were like, our positionment is being a Webflow agency. The market was like small enough to be a Webflow agency and just grab all the leads who come from Webflow. And at first, like the first two years of building the company, I would say like mainly our customer was like tech and green tech, especially because it was like after COVID, and I don't remember if you remember, but at this moment there were like a lot of fun about like green stuff being like more. Yeah, just green. Like if you do like some green stuff at this time, you are like having you can raise some money and you need a website. So I always say that like an agency to me, it's just like you follow the money. You follow the money. You know where the money is, because where the money is, people need some services to build on top of that, and they reach out of you. So yeah, the first 2 years were mainly like green tech and projects of that kind. And after it starts switching, and we start having more and more leads in the financial sector. And we start having like very strong success with them, which means that very good success on SEO, very good success on conversion rate. We have like some company who start like very small. They were like 10 people when we start working together. And right now they are like a 50, 60 people group with like multi-brand and very high growth. And thanks to this use case, I think we start like reaching out of people, because like each industry is like a small world. And they're like, oh, who have worked with these clients and who have built this strategy and this website, and they start like coming out of us. And 3 years ago, I think, or 2 years ago, I don't remember exactly, we were advised, okay, guys, Webflow is a big market now. You have to choose one industry and focus on. This is where you are going to do some margin better. This is how your team is going to be better, more expert and stuff. And so we just decided at this time, okay, let's open a portfolio. Let's see what we have in terms of use case, because we do believe that you can sell with use case. That's it. If you don't have any use case, it's very tough to sell. So we were like, okay, if we look at it, our portfolio is made only almost about like financial sector or tech, SaaS, scale up, let's say.
Yeah.
So we decided to just open like a new drop down on your website. And right now we have 2 industry and focus on tech and finance. And because of that, we as well like build 2 landing page. And I think that right now, like customer, when they arrive on our website, they feel that we are like expert and talking to them. So basically just bring us more and more leads in the finance or tech world. And so right now we're just working with both of this industry. I mean, not only, but mainly, I would say.
Yeah. And are you open for adding like some new industry in the future if something rises up?
Who knows where the market is going to go? Maybe tomorrow they will have like a new industry, like robotics, is going to like being like crazy. But for now, we need to keep our focus because we just feel that right now we are company-wise, it's the moment to just focus on what we do good and do it very great, being very like top of our market on our expertise. And so we just keep doing on that right now.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you about the team. How is your team right now? And I saw that you are searching new people and those roles are like remote roles. So how are you managing the remote team and everything that comes with it?
We are born remote, so we are like fully remote company. So it has always been like that. I don't think remote is for everyone, but for some people it's great. So I mean, I'm managing that in a way, let's say that, I'm always saying that you're like a big man, like, you know what you have to do, your work. That's it. This is the goal. This is where Digidop is going. This is how you are going to contribute with the team to go to this goal. This is your work, and do great, make clients happy. We have like aware of doing our project. This is important to just like give the right energy and teach them the right energy. And after we arrive to do it like perfectly in remote, we just need to have like people who are like self-driven, know why and how they need to do it. And after right now we are like hiring like on 3 new positions. We try to build like a new complete team, let's say. So we're hiring like one for web design, one for front-end development, and one from account director. So the main goal is like to support like Thomas and I in sales, because from until today, like it's only Thomas and I who are doing sales. So we want to have like someone helping us on that. That's why for the account director and design and development is just to support our ops.
Yeah. I remember when Uroš Mikić was on the show that he said that he kind of has the same problem, that the sales part of the whole agency is too much reliant on him. So I guess you are like building some sort of sales team or department for you. And what kind of plans do you have for that?
We need to have the right people for it. I think sales is like a very important position and a very tough position because it's what's make the deal float in the company. So our plan right now is like just to hire like one account director. We try to find the right person to build with us. And after it's pretty, I will say, like it's pretty comfortable to be a sales at Digidop because we have like a strong marketing strategy. And when you have like a strong marketing strategy, like it makes sales life easier. Right now, we just need to find the right person to apply with us more on the closing part of being with the client, of upselling, of like going for the recurring contract and all of that. By example, we don't need that much like people who are going to, do outreach and all of that.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you are getting like inbound lead. Which like channel is the strongest one for you? Does it just come through like websites and maybe SEO and all the others, or what about social media maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like today it's everything. Like it's very tough to understand where clients come from. We always ask the question in sales, like always, like it's very important. Okay, and how do you discover us, and why do you choose to contact us, for example? And 3 years ago, like all the clients will give you like an answer. It was on LinkedIn, it was on YouTube, it was on SEO. Right now, clients don't ever remember. They're like, I don't remember because we are like everywhere. We have built like a strategy like everywhere. We are like we've tried like since 5 years to build content around the brand everywhere on all the social and everything on our website, on our partner with like we start having like as well like by example a lot of websites around the world which are like signed by Digidop. So they don't even know how they find us. The only thing we've noticed, it's since a year, we feel that we have a lot more clients coming from LLM. And it's pretty easy to identify them because by example, they don't even know about Webflow. And this is a big shift, a big change in our sales process because right now we have a lot of clients who reach out of us for the web expertise and not for Webflow. And just to remind you, we are like born as a Webflow agency with like a strong positionment on Webflow. And because on LLMs, they ask like some question. And their question, because we have a lot of case study on our website, like who's covering like a lot of problematics. Sometimes like the question the potential leads or clients ask to the LLM is related to one client's case study we have on our website. And so we get that recommendation. And when we get that recommendation, it's definitely changed our market because before we were like competing with other Webflow agency, people who like already want Webflow and compare us with other Webflow agency. Right now we are mainly compete with agency, I would say overall. It's not even Webflow world anymore.
Yeah. The AEO thing is such an interesting one. We can move towards that topic, and kind of relating to that is also like Webflow's own like efforts. Like I know that they are getting some success with the mentions in AI, like compared to the actual like market size they are. So that's one thing which obviously helps us. But what sort of things? Obviously, the content is one thing. What sort of concrete things have you done with Digidop sites, for example?
Like if I give you like one straight example we've done, it's as soon as we understand that the LLM is like starts changing the search, we've done a lot of things like technically and so on, and we build a lot of our content and etc. But we've like rewrite all our case study. And right now, if you go on the Digidop website case study, you can see that all our case study is like one problematic, one answer. And the goal was like, okay, we have like many clients, many case studies already on the website. Why always selling the same things? Like, let's try to get each problematic breakdown and to have like more possibility to attract lead from LLM to that strategy. And by example, if you type on LLM, I'm a 5-star hotel and I want to redo my website and migrate it to something where I'll have like better performance in SEO and marketing team can edit it, by example, boom, we have a case study for that. If you're looking for like a master template because you're going to launch like a 10 to 15 hotel, you have that. In the finance, same. And in every case study, we've tried to do like one problematic, one answer. And we do believe that it's helped us a lot. And after we have like create specific content, let's say for LLM, And yeah, after technically, like Webflow do a lot of great things from the beginning. So if your website is built on Webflow, clean SEO strategy since day one, you have already a big things that works. And after we have changed few little details just about like discoverability in terms of AI agent, crawlability, MD file. Does it work? Yes or no? I mean, I do believe that a lot of people don't even exactly know what works or not. But I just
Yeah.
But I just think that if you do everything great in terms of business wise, and okay, this is my brand, this is how I want my website to showcase, and this is how I want my company to show on all the social and have like a good reputation, it will pay off.
Yeah, totally. It's a bit of a black box. Like people are not sure what is working and what is not, and we are not getting like a data. Like in the SEO world, we got like a trust data that we could trust from Google Search Console, but there's no such thing for LLMs. So we end up like trying out all sorts of things. One specific thing that I have seen on your site and some other sites is now those like buttons, like summarize this or OpenAI or Perplexity or something like that. Do you think that those work, and were they hard to implement?
I think AI on the website right now I have two goals. One goal is try to get some trick to rank better, to be better in LLM. Okay, cool. And the other goal is just for your potential lead or customer to see that you play with AI. You know, like right now, people want to have a partner who know about AI. Even if you don't implement that much, they want to feel that you're like AI aware. You know, that's very important, and that's why we built some kind of features like that. So I would say it works more in terms of branding, conversion, than in terms of influence. And after, they are hard to implement. I think that since AI is here, nothing is hard to implement. That's the crazy part, you know. Like before, if you want to do something on Webflow, you know, and I mean, you have to find the right forum post, or you have to find the right YouTube video to explain it to you, or you have to play with the tools for like hours and hours, try to make that things, you know. Right now, it's too easy. You don't have that satisfaction of making it works because you just explain your problem, connect the MCP with Claude, and Claude will tell you exactly what to do, you know. It's insane. It's insane. And I don't know about you, but you know, me, I was having a lot of fun, you know, being stuck into problem when I discovered Webflow and spending like hours, like how I'm going to do that. And, you know, and at the moment I succeed, boom, it was like, was something special.
It was more rewarding when you put more effort there. And now when you can just like prompt almost everything, that is not the same thing.
It's not the same.
Yeah, but since you mentioned like the MCP, I know that you did a little stream about Webflow and Claude and the connection between. So how do you think that Webflow is handling the AEO building side of things?
I think they do great since day one on that. You know, like Webflow is a very clean, strong platform who have like already native features built in, which are like amazing, you know, like you don't even realize all the technical part that they are covering. And they were like doing that for SEO, and it's not adding, they don't need to add that much for AEO. So I will not say on that they have to improve that much. Like the platform is already great in a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And many of those things that you do for AEO is like quite basic stuff. And every platform has that. It's just a question how easy it is to implement.
I think right now the hardest part for AEO and all of that stuff, if you want to really, really, you know, being very big, is just be sure that your brand is always having like the good reputation of your brand. That's tough, that's long to build. And I'm a huge believer as well in the content. I feel like the content is very important, and I don't know why you've created like your YouTube channel and why, by example, you do that kind of podcast and so on. But I feel that this is very important as well, just to have like some authentic content, which pushing to the web. I think that kind of stuff are really important as well.
Oh, totally. And that's kind of like out of your website. So website is one thing, but there's huge things outside, like the reputation and brand and such.
Yeah, but I've talked, because you mentioned about Uroš, and Uroš do like a Flow Conf. He do like a Flow conference, which is like an event around Webflow. And I speak about that like 2 years ago. I was speaker there, and I was explaining that even if you do a lot of things around the website, I believe that it's very important to, at the end, put it inside your website, you know? So, by example, I don't know how you use this podcast, but if it was me, I will have like a podcast page on my website with like a resource hub, which all the podcasts being like transcribed on my own website. For 2 reasons. I do believe that like that, I'm sure that internet understand that this content is related to this website first. And second, just because you don't know. I mean, YouTube is big. Okay, it's big, but you don't know tomorrow how YouTube is going to work, you know. And what are you going to do with that? All that work you've put in, like all that discussion, all that content, all of that. You don't own it too much, you know. If it's tomorrow on your website, at least you have the content, you have everything built in, and even if it's on Webflow, we can say, well, yeah, but it's on Webflow, yeah, but you can export code. Code is very flexible, it's very cool, and you know, I just do believe that it's cool to all the things you've built, try to see your website as a hub, as a source of trust, and try to make it like if you have like one asset to share, be that one.
Yeah, totally. And I'm working on my like own website and the kind of like the podcast archive. But as you know, client works always comes first, and
that's why your website need to be your clients, you know. I'm saying that all the time to my team. Like I'm asking them the question each time we meet up on seminar and stuff. Who's your biggest clients? I'm asking them the question just to see if they still have in mind, you know. And I always say that we have like one big enterprise client. It's like the biggest one, and it's like Digidop.com. And it's very, I think it's very important to be, you know, good in the long term.
Oh, totally. And you kind of have to like practice what you speak. And also it can be like a bottleneck for you if you don't update the site in a long time. So yeah.
Yeah. And me, I'm selling with the website, you know? So I'm selling with my website. I always say, okay, the best way to sell website is to show from your website how you're going to use it as a sales asset, you know? And if our website don't reflect who we are, or I don't have like the asset I want to show on my website, it's not good.
Totally. But okay, there's two lines we can go. I want to discuss both of these. They are like the AEO services and the content stuff that you are doing with Digitop. But about the AEO, since that was like kind of like the first topic we discussed, how do you package those services for your clients? And what is Vydera?
Yeah, so Vydera is like a new agency we've built with Thibaut, which was like for the history, like the first team member of Digidop. So it's a total different brand. And on Vydera, we are like a SEO/GEO AEO agency. So how we package services, it's in a two-way. You have like different services who go around a website rebuild or website migration with SEO. And Vydera cover, by example, all the technical aspect, the sitemap and the website architecture, the content migration, the content production if you need help on that. So really like the SEO agency part. And Digidop is building on the web. And how do we package that? It's like you will have like one expert two experts under one roof, I would say. And especially you will have team who are used to work together, you know, because it's very important to have like people who collaborate inside that kind of project. And we just decided to launch this agency for two reasons. The first thing was like all of our clients was asking us like, okay, can you provide us like SEO, GEO, AEO? You're very good on that. You rank everywhere. So you know it. So, provide services. But we are like, but we need to have a team to provide you that, you know. It's not just, it's not Digidop to just like adding stuff like that. So we need to have like real strong team with ops, building on it and doing that daily. So we decided to not do it for years. And we were like giving that to our partners. And it was like just giving them some business. And right now we have like built it because we feel that it's a great timing to build it because AI works very great in that industry. So by example, we were like speaking about Webflow a bit earlier, about AEO features and cloud and so on. Built on the web with AI is not that easy that you can see online. Like a lot of people see things online, they think that you can build great websites with AI. It's a lie now. But on SEO, when you're speaking about data, architecture, audits, all of that, like does a pretty good job. So Thibaut have built like a very strong agentic workflow who permit us to like deliver a lot with a small team. So we were like feeling, okay, we can provide like a good services to our clients. So it's the right time to do it. And we built like the new agency.
Yeah, that is fascinating. And I kind of like the idea that both can like focus on like smaller niche or what they are great at. So that opens the possibility.
I think it's really important for the team first, like that they know that we are that's what they have to do and what they have to focus on, you know, because if you say to your developer, okay, right now you are SEO expert, Webflow developer, Webflow, you know, you don't know where you don't know where to focus and what to, be the best
Totally.
at. So when you split your team and you're like, okay, right now you are in the SEO, GEO agency. So what you have to do is like build a strong expertise in that. Like people go into it, and they start like following new channels, they start following like new source of inspiration and all of that. So just for that, and as well for clients, like clients like the fact that they know that we have a team who's doing strategy on SEO and GEO all day. Like they are not just like a service add-on, like built on top, and they know that on the other agency, like the use case is just going to be based on the result they have on the visibility. So
Totally.
it's not like it's a package for the client, but they are like their KPI to have like a happy customer are really on the visibility only, so they have to deliver on that. And I think that the customer are happy to have that, just two things split. And on our side, agency part, I would say, having like the group perspective, it's openest, better, let's say, opportunities in the future. We are like a bit less Webflow dependent because we have like a new agency who can maybe tomorrow have clients just for the visibility part. And we can sell web then from that first agency, from the second agency to the first agency.
Do you already provide those services with Vydera to other like platforms than Webflow?
I don't think so. I really don't think so. Or maybe one, but very small, and if we talk about like just a very small deal, it's not relevant to discuss it about in this episode. But the things works very well is we almost always sell Vydera with Digidop now. That means that I would say like more than 60% of our business signed with Digidop now include as well like Vydera services, which permit us to have like a better package for our customer, like a better result on the delivery we deliver at the end, because you have like a lot more and better results in the future. So we do believe that in 2-3 years, our portfolio is going to be amazing, because our portfolio is going to have like even like better KPI and things to showcase.
Yeah. And this begs the question, have you planned or maybe dreamed of maybe third entity, like third agency, to kind of like build on this same foundation?
Yeah, we think about it. We're like thinking about doing an acquisition for that at first, just to not rebuild everything. Because like building something, it's long and it takes a lot of energy. And we decide to finally just right now focus on two agency. It's pretty good enough in terms of work and intensity. So, as we've always done in Digidop, step by step, keep the brand, keep the quality, keep the services, and we took our time. But right now we are open, like it was like more in that way as well. Right now we have like the group perspective. And so if tomorrow opportunities come, we are open to it.
Yeah. I know my brain always says like what's the term? Like the left side says that you have to focus and do what you do well. But the other side is always like, why don't we do this and that and add all of these things? I know that there's like the temptation to try everything.
It is. But you have to make some choice,
Yeah, that is so true. Yeah. What about the, like, let's say, media side of your business, like all the content that you produce online, YouTube being one of that? I know that everybody knows that that's important, and many agencies would like to do that, but for some reason they just do not do that. So how are you different? How have you managed to build such a cool YouTube channel and all the other platforms?
We've chosen it, we're like just speaking about like you have to make some choice, and I think we've made it from day one like a priority, Like I will say to you two things. To me, first, content, it's like selling at scale. And I'm like really obsessed by that, it's like really selling at scales. And I'm always thinking, what if I create this content and it's seen by 1 million of people? Like it's crazy when you think about it. Like you sell on a call, you take a like sales call, it's lasts like 30 minutes and you sell to one person. And maybe if you take like 2 hours to create a content, you will sell to 100 of people in the same time. Like it's crazy. So I always have seen content in that way, and I'm trying to always like optimize my amount of work in terms of the reach it can go and the deal it can bring to the company. And I think content as the most biggest leverage we can have for that. So since day one, we try to focus on that. And let me give you like a straight example, like our YouTube channel. This is how it's born. Like at first we were like Thomas and I only in the agency. And when we start having some customer, we start like putting them on Webflow, and all the Webflow content at this time was in English. So they were like having zero French content. So for each thing they need to do on Webflow, even a small change, like clients were like mailing us, how I do that in Webflow, how I do that in Webflow, I can't find us. They were not asking us in English, they were asking us in French, because they were like they want an answer in French. And we were like, wow, we start like doing some Loom video, explaining them and stuff. And when we have like 1 client, 2 clients, 3 clients, 10 clients, we're like, wow, how it's going to be, you know? We are going to spend our day just sending Loom video to our clients. You need to do that, you need to do that. And so we were like, at the end, they are going to have all the same question because they have exactly the same needs. So we were like, why not upload our Loom video on YouTube? And when the client has the question, we say, go to YouTube. We have like answered to that already. And if you go to our YouTube channel, you look at the first video, it's straight Loom to our customer. Like just saying them, okay, if you want, we don't say, hey, Jan, this is how you are going to do it. It's more like, hey, if you want to do that, you need to do that. And this is exactly how our YouTube channel has been built. It's like just answering question. Or right now you have AA. It's not the same word at all. But at this time, it's how we try to scale our support services. And we scale it through content. And then after, I just think we liked it. We have fun doing it. It was like cool to go in the content world and to share some memories online and build a brand with people or meet some people, get some opportunities. So we just keep doing it.
Totally.
And YouTube is great. YouTube is great. Why do you choose YouTube to start like your YouTube channel?
I don't know. Like it was the one platform I used. Like I used YouTube more than Instagram or
100%.
any others. And it's a natural place for like long form videos. So those were probably the reasons.
I think we are a YouTube generation, you know. We are a YouTube generation, definitely.
Totally. And YouTube is still like going strong in my opinion. Like some other platforms like fluctuate more, but YouTube is still like quite strong. But what about like for the future? I know that you are trying to offload the responsibilities of sales from your like desk or shoulders. What about content? Are you thinking that other people might have more responsibility of Digidop's content?
Yes, they do. They will do. Like historically, like a lot of team member of Digidop are on the YouTube channel or like producing content on everything. We have like since day one says to our team that content is what drives the most business in the long term for Digidop. So you have to play the game with us. And I do believe that and still think that everyone is playing the game and like rather going on the YouTube channel. You have, by example, Thibaut, who have made like a complete French Webflow formation, which is seen by more than 20K people, which is insane for a long episode, you know, like we're speaking about episode about 1 hour 30 and so on. We have like often like Lucas who's coming on the channel showing some Webflow stuff and so on. So yeah, we do. And we already do in the past and we will do it more in the future as well. We will do it more in the future as well. Yeah.
And do you have plans or goals for other channels than YouTube?
We are as well like strong on TikTok, Instagram, and LinkedIn. But it's more like we try to create content that can be replicated in all the platforms most of the time. And I would say that our favorite is YouTube because it's very linked to the search as well. And I don't know, I really... Like you said, you know, I'm a strong believer in YouTube. And I always say as well to Thomas, when we create content on YouTube, you know, it's like our memories in the same time, you know. We can just like check out, you know, you check a video you've done like 3 years ago and you're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny. But what about like utilizing the YouTube things for like visibility on LLMs? Like I know that probably helps, but you mentioned that I could do with the podcast the whole archive thing. But do you do similar things with Digidop? Like do you publish articles with the YouTube videos or anything like that?
We tried to include video inside the article, by example. So by example, if we speak about like Webflow AI and how Webflow is going with AI or point of view on that and some key features and so on, we try to have like an article who have like both things, like the YouTube video, like that people can have a video if they prefer, or the content. And by example, when we've launched like the formation on Webflow in French with Thibaut, we've like built a full website during the formation. Like the main goal was like at the end of the formation, you will be able to build your own website. So we've built a website with right during the formation. And after we published the website and in the website, you have like all the episode linked it up inside the website. So yeah, we try to do both. We think that it was like a recommendation like 5 years or 6 years ago in SEO world to, propose everything in terms of content. Like you have an article and you have like all the option, image, text, video. You have to propose to your user like all the option right now. And we just keep doing that, we just try to keep doing that. And to me, when I'm doing like a video as well, like on YouTube, it's helped me really understand the topics, because you're going to do a video about it. So, you have to be relevant on what you are going to say. You're showcasing the world about what you're going to speak about. So, you dive deep into the topic, you put your idea in mind. I like the process. I like that process as well, just for me also, to just be sure that I'm understanding it totally. And after like being able to explain it with the right words and everything, I really like the exercise.
Oh, totally. And especially if you like your job responsibilities change so that you are less on the day-to-day, like let's say Webflow work, and you kind of have to do all sorts of manager type of stuff, then you get to do these videos and tinker around with all the
100%.
stuff.
100%, like, for example, I'm not doing that much Webflow anymore. Like, I'm just forcing myself to do some Webflow because we sell Webflow, so I need to be sure that the product we sell is good. That's my only job, is to be sure that I'm putting the company in the right direction. And so, for example, when I want to do a video about Webflow and AI, it forced me to try the other tools on the internet. And, to be sure that what I'm going to say about Webflow, it's relevant and it's like true about where they are. And I just feel like it's a very good exercise for that.
Oh, totally. Since you mentioned Webflow, well, it's a Webflow podcast, but Webflow and it being a good tool, what are you like excited about? Like new features, maybe something upcoming that you are waiting for, and what have you been playing around with?
Recently, of course, I've been playing around with AI a lot, Like, I think it's something everybody's playing with. So, of course, I was really hyped with the MCP. I've tried a lot of things, I've tried to build, like, I personally challenge myself. Like, I say to my team, okay, I'm taking this project. You don't do this project. I'm doing the project, and I want to do it fully with prompt and MCP. I don't want to use at all the keyboard. I mean, it would have been much faster to do it with like a regular development process, but just to see where we are, so I was really hyped about it. I have like very good time to play with it, and I think the MCP is like already good. It's still not as it can be, because like Webflow is not AI native, and I think it's very important for everyone to understand that like the platform has not been built with AI at core, so they try to adapt it in the right way right now, which is cool. But for example, like the features who are like hyping me the most was more like the small details AI integration, like, how to use AI to change content, how to use AI to traduce your content, with Localize, how to use AI to, do title, meta, tag, SEO, how to use AI to integrate like a schema markup, all that small little things, which is not like big things like look what we have built, but which are like really useful to my team and my customer. So this is the things that I was the most hype. And after, to answer to you, like what I'm hyping for, like for the next, of course, like it's going to be cool if they are like keep going on the code component features with AI, which is like a great features. If they are like improving the MCP by opening the API, because like the things is like right now it's just about how the API works with the MCP. But I'm like, as well, like I would be very, very hyped if they do like some things that is really as well like useful for all of us in the day-to-day, which means like improve localization, which is like a very crazy good product. And since the launch of it, you didn't have like that much evolution around it. And I will be hyped if it's make like the hosting in Europe easier, like you are in Europe, so that is a main concern, for years. And you can do it, but they can make it better and easier, and let's say about, if we speak about still legal and Europe, about like a built-in solution for cookie or for privacy, all that.
Oh yeah.
You see what I mean? Like kind of little stuff, which are like, okay, they are not fancy on the conference saying, woohoo, we are launching the cookie, but in the day-to-day, they will be cool and helpful, easier to sell the platform. And they have like, I think a very, very strong spot on the all-in-one platform, built for scales, very premium, enterprise level, where you can build at scale with AI, have native tools inside, adjust the small little details, embed code. Like they have a spot. they have a strong spot on the market. Just don't forget it, not go play with against Claude because it's not your market, like it's not the same.
Totally. And same with like, let's say something like Lovable, like app builders. Obviously you can build websites with those tools too, but they are great for especially app building. And Webflow has its own like
on market. Yeah, they have their own market, and don't forget to, don't forget your actual customer, like at an enterprise level. If you want to go enterprise, we're okay with that. But what they need now, because it's a lot of hype as well right now. I understand that, but you have like a strong spot for the next few years. Capitalize on that. It's cool.
Yeah. All those cookie things. I like hate that part of my job to add those banners and all the things. And that's by no way a good way to handle cookies. In general, like I believe we should have some sort of like better regulation or something like default for the browsers in general.
Yeah. And you have some actor like FinSuite who try to build that kind of product on top of Webflow since years, so they can associate with them definitely, like it's being like a great partner for them. Like FinSuite have helped like a lot Webflow to grow. Totally. Just like reach out of them, try to make something together. It's not going to be that costly for them because they have they can buy it. And I would love to see more and more that kind of stuff happening.
Totally. Like unsexy but helpful.
Exactly. But the money is on the unsexy, like totally. The more sexy is your business, the less profitable it is, that's that's crazy.
But you also mentioned localization. How would you do? How would you like make that even more powerful? It's quite good already. So what would you do for that?
Yeah, I would say on big scale website, when you're managing like 30, 40 local, there is like things in the workflow that start becoming like tricky to deploy, or you have like small little details that you really have to be aware or already have worked on that kind of project to be sure everything going smooth and don't break. And after, let me give you like a very small example, like, but just to be sure, like when you traduce globally, like a large website, just giving some guidelines, on how you want the content to be traduced, how like the tone of voice you want it to be, how do you want like to give more context on everything, being more qualitative in the traduction, in the localization, and being able to go global in one click. Right now it's more like a lot of clicks to use the translation. So by example, us right now, we are using mainly Claude for doing that, through the MCP, which is great. But so we're using a tool in the between.
Yeah. The localization doesn't get too much attention. Obviously, like the Webflow related content is often in English and maybe US based, and it might not be that like heavily used in the US, but back here you kind of always need like the local language and English at least.
And Localize is like a great product. Like, by example, we were speaking about like Lovable or the website iBuilder and so on. And when you start asking your question about your client, okay, and how do you plan to manage like your website in 5 to 6 to 10 to 20 language with your Lovable and so on, that's the kind of question you can ask to sell Webflow Enterprise, and being sure that your clients is aligned with what our iBuilder can do now and what Webflow can do now, so.
Yeah, totally. But isn't there like those translation tools for that specific like use case? Like if you have a bunch of text that you have to manage, and do you know anything about those and how they like integrate with Webflow and Localize?
You speak about like tools on top of that, like tools like Localize, not localization from Webflow, but Localize. Yeah, by example, we have Localize, which are like a great product, but it's like, again, like a product built on top of Webflow, which is fine for us. It's just at the end, like you start like coming to your clients and saying, okay, so you have Webflow Enterprise, you have Localize, you have FinSuite cookie, it's a lot of stuff. It's cool. I'm good with that. But if Webflow want to build new features inside being the all-in-one platform, to me, that's the way to look at things.
Yeah. Okay. I still kind of the same question again. What do you think that Webflow will release in the Webflow Conf in Boston in September? You can be vague if you have some NDAs or something like that.
What do you think they're going to release?
Well, something along the lines of AI, obviously.
Yeah.
And they need to get the MCP working even better. So I'm hoping for that. But I do not know. Well, they were like hiring like e-commerce people at some point, like developers with an e-commerce background. So I kind of wish that there's something e-commerce related, but I'm not sure what that could be. Webflow e-commerce is a missed opportunity, especially in Europe at least.
Yeah. So if I give you my takes, I think 100% are going to raise about AI. They have to, because this is the market right now, and Webflow since day one is like a marketing first company. So they need to market their product good, things they do. And right now, like all the marketing team want to build with prompts, want to have like a chat with AI somewhere, even if it's not that useful, even if it's not that good, they want to feel it and play with it. It's being in the moment of the tech industry, but I don't think they are going to release anything in terms of e-commerce at all, just because I think that they choose to invest in AI. And one strong indicator I have on that as well, it's by example, if you look at it, Alan, the CTO of Webflow, which were like coming from Shopify, have recently left Webflow. So I think personally that he was coming from Shopify to help Webflow go to the e-commerce at this time. And maybe right now, like the e-commerce is not something they want to build anymore, I don't see Webflow evolving that much in the e-commerce, to be honest. And I've seen them more being the growth engine for marketing websites, all in one platform, very upmarket, with a bit of AI inside just to make you what you have to do, with AI.
Yeah, and you might be right. I'm just like dreaming of the e-commerce, but there hasn't been like updates for e-commerce in a while.
Yeah.
And localization doesn't work with e-commerce, so that's one thing.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And that's when we are like in your position, you are like us, this podcast is Webflow friends, so we are very dependent to Webflow, and I think we need to be very aligned with the product and what the product is going. Because imagine you count and dream about e-commerce, you start like planning strategy. Yeah. You are alone, so it's not like as well like that big. But imagine if you have like a big team and you say, okay, right now we are going to be strong on e-commerce, try creating content on e-commerce, start like learning the best practice in e-commerce and so on, and the features never came, you're dead, So right now, me personally, I'm not counting on what's going to go next in terms of features and so on. I'm counting on what's the product is good for now. I'm trying to have like a vision of where they're going in the next 6 months to a year. I'm trying to discuss as much as I can with the product team just to understand by their question where they want to go. And I'm driving my team around that, yeah. Not making some dreams and expectation because it's too dangerous.
That is true. But what does your like crystal ball say about the next 6 months? Will like Webflow do great in this AI shenanigan hype thing?
Yeah.
Will it come like on top of everything, or will there be some negative things?
No, like I think that we are like really inside the market. So we feel everything, we see everything, we hear everything. Our clients are far from that. Don't worry, they are far, far, far from that. So, so before they understand what's going on Webflow and all of that stuff and what's going on the other tools and stuff, you have like 2-3 years we're going to pass by, especially if you go up market in Europe, enterprise, just think about it. Like we are still having a lot of big company on Drupal, or Joomla or WordPress. you see what I mean? And they still have like a business who works with like billions in revenue per year. And they still didn't have take like the wave of Webflow 5 years ago or 6 years ago. They start like right now hearing about it. So I just feel that it's going to take more time than everyone's thinking. And right now you just have to decide where you position yourself and where you are going to be good and strong for the next 2-3 years. But it's not going to have like a big market shift on that. And if you are like on the Webflow enterprise level, you will have like clients for the next 2-3 years, especially because Webflow put a lot of effort in sales as well on that. So, if the sales license, you will have to have like some provider and service provider like giving services. And after on the website world, I'm seeing more and more like a cool stack emerging in the next years. And we are going to play with it, of course. but it's not going to serve the same client as we serve with Webflow Enterprise. So we are going to have like two split offer. One is going to be like the Webflow Enterprise, and one is going to be something more custom.
Yeah. Maybe are you considering already some platforms, maybe Framers or something like that? Can you tell anything about those?
Yeah, I can. I don't consider at whole Framer. I do believe personally that the Framer business is dead because like I think that the small website or like the very like cool animated like landing page is not going to be a healthy market. I mean, for agency at least. Maybe for some freelancer, yes, but not for us. It's not going to be a value enough market to me. And so I don't consider Framer at all. I'm considering more like custom stack with like, custom front-end developer building on top of Astro, Sanity, or all of that, like Next.js is great. So, I'm more like seeing it in terms of if you have like a strong team in front of you, which are like aware of how to use all of that, build with AI, you can have something very custom for them. Cool. And if you have like a marketing team who want to have like, the big boat, they go Webflow Enterprise.
Yeah, totally.
What do you think? You think Framer have like some space in the market?
I don't know. I haven't used that so much that I could have a good grasp of what they are good. I know that they are good for like the fast and like cool looking websites, and they do have that enterprise side, some cool references there, but I'm not sure where they are going. I know that they had some sort of big announcement, maybe this week, maybe, I don't know, last week. I didn't see that, but someone said that whatever Webflow is announcing, Framer will be 6 months back with that same roadmap. So that was kind of funny.
I mean, there's a strategy, like they're just like trying to copy the Webflow path and keeping like the vibe of like you're trying to build like cool things on the web with like a platform made for designer and so on. But I think personally that this was like the market 5 to 6 years ago. Like right now, this no code space for me is taken by AI, and I think that is not going to be easy for them to compete with AI native website builder when like in the next 2-3 years, like people are going to build like crazy competitor for Framer, I just believe that the next generation of builder, like people who are actually like 14, 15 years old, and they start like, having that fire inside them with all that tools. I mean, imagine. I mean, it's crazy. They are going to come with the tools which is going to work like magic, and Framer will be done like that. I personally believe that. And I'm taking that take because I'm doing a lot of Muay Thai on my personal time. And by example, what I noticed is like the next generation, which are like right now to me, the fighter from like 15 to 17 years old, they are like so good technically already, like very, very, very good technically. And because they have like since very young age access to YouTube, Instagram, social media, and all the content to teach them, me when I was starting Muay Thai, I was having to go to the gym to learn. I was needing my master to explain me the technique, show me how to do it and stuff. Them, they can just do 24/7 like learning, So imagine tomorrow the builder, like they have like access on AI, YouTube with like, I mean, YouTube right now, it's insane. All of that, if they choose well where they put their intention and build the right things, I think in the next years, we're going to see some cool things building on top of the web.
Yeah, that's the thing with social media, the intention, like you may end up looking at something educational and helpful, but you also may end up watching some total crap.
You make your choice. You made your choice, like it's just about like taking decision. And I think some people are very driven and they will put the intention at the right place. And we're going to see like a very, very cool stuff. Like just imagine yourself, like when you've learned Webflow, how did you learn compared to how, if today you have to learn Webflow from zero, how you will do, like your first project, if we take your first project, you start now and we do like your first project, you start 5 years ago. I'm sure the one now is better, because you have like access to so much better resource and so much better leverage and so on, like just to give you an example, like when we launched Digidop with Thomas, we were like, one day we are going to have like a JavaScript developer is going to be so cool. We will be able to do that. You know what I mean? And right now we have Claude, it's insane. Of course, we have like basic knowledge of JavaScript, which are important, but for how long,
Yeah. I'm wondering if there will be, well, there will be those LLMs, but I'm like thinking, will there be like more apps that build around them? Meaning that, let's say, if you want to build a static HTML, CSS website, that there are apps that like do all the hosting stuff, all the technical stuff, that you can just plug in whichever platform like LLM you want, and then use that to build it, and you do not have to worry about the hosting stuff or anything like that.
In that way, I don't know if you've interviewed like Julian from Chip Studio.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of the things he tried to build, like actually he's building a tools where, you have like everything, like in terms of like kind of plugin, you can plug everything on top of it in a way and build with whatever CMS you want, whatever code you want, whatever LLM you want. We'll see. I mean, he looks passionate about it. It's a builder. So let's see where he brings that.
Yeah. Actually, I just had one comment on Julian video from the member side team. And yeah, the member side site is built with Claude and I believe Sanity CMS and like static code. And yeah, it works good for them, but it is not all rainbows and butterflies. That was what the comment was about, that there is still some work to be done with maintaining the sites, and new people will need to be like trained for it and so on.
So, it's always the same. So, us as a service provider will still have work. Like, it's just going to be maybe on a different stack or a different level. And I'm confident with Webflow for the next 2-3 years. Of course, there is some big shift on the market. Of course, there's a lot of things going on. But if you're very aware of what Webflow provides now and to which ones they try to sell the product, align yourself and your position to that if you want to keep going on Webflow, and there is a market there, yeah. Like we have a proof that it works, because as well, we start with like very small and medium businesses, selling to founders and so on. And right now we have like a strong enterprise presence, and you will see in the next 6 months, as soon as our use case is going to be released for the next couple of months, that, things doing good.
That is a good closing thought. We have one weird little section for the dedicated listeners. But before that, Florian, if someone wants to check you out, follow you, or even contact you, where should they go?
LinkedIn, Instagram, or X. But I'm present personally on the three of their platform. I'm more like corporate on LinkedIn, or trying to mix a bit. My Instagram is more for Muay Thai only, but it's more like my personal stuff and my career in terms of sports sharing. But feel free to share and connect wherever is the best for you.
Nice, beautiful. And I will obviously put all the relevant links in the description. But yeah, Florian, do you have any idea what the last section is about?
Not at all.
Beautiful. This will come as a surprise. So this last section is little weird Finnish thing for the dedicated listeners. So what follows is that I will give you a Finnish saying. I will translate that to English, and your job is to guess what is it about, like what does it mean or anything like that. So are you ready for your saying?
I'm ready.
So firstly, in Finnish, it is ketun häntä kainalossa, and in English it means that to have a foxtail under one's arm. So what does it mean if I say to you that, okay, that guy has a foxtail under one's arm, under his arm?
Foxtail? And if he have that on his arm?
Under his arm, like
under his arm. I'm thinking he's a hunter. I don't know.
That's quite literal, but it's nowhere close. Do you want a second guess? This is a metaphor, so not a literal foxtail.
I don't get it. But I'm curious what it is. I'm very curious what it is.
No worries. This is one of the hard ones. Like, I do not know the logic behind this, but it means that guy who has the foxtail under his arm, he has some mischievous plans, like he's doing or planning something with bad intentions, maybe a prank or maybe even a crime or something like that. Again, I do not know why the foxtail. It is just a weird Finnish saying.
It's cool. And how do you find like this kind of like enigma? Like
some of the sayings I just know because Finnish is obviously my native language, but there's also like a directory for this. So
That's cool.
a bunch of this. So I'm actually I have my own list, but now that the podcast has gone for a while, I kind of would have to search more of this. But I know I will never like go short of this. Like there will always be some weird saying because it's after all language and people use it quite weirdly.
Definitely. How much episode do you have already on the podcast?
This will be 61st.
61st.
But I started having guests on the show on probably 22nd. So
Okay.
I did monologues before that just to get it rolling
Yeah.
and so on.
Cool. And do you like it? You like doing it? Yeah.
It's awesome. Like getting to talk with people like you and all the folk in the Webflow sphere and maybe a bit out of it too. So it's a kind of like a cheat code that if I send you a message that how about a cup of coffee or lunch or something, it might not work, but this is a great way to like actually talk with people.
Yeah,
totally.
And literally connect, I would say, because, even if I say, oh, yeah, let's definitely take a coffee, it's going to just be a coffee. When we share like a discussion like that on a podcast, we share real discussion. And I feel like, if tomorrow we meet up in Boston, are you going in Boston this year for the conference?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I have some stuff here in Finland, so that's a bummer.
Yeah.
But I'm doing plans for the 2027.
Okay, cool. So, and by example, maybe we'll see in Europe before, or if you see in 2027 for the Webflow Conf, we'll have like this great memory of like, 1 year or 2 years ago, we've made like a podcast and that's cool.
One last question.
Let's do. What about if you have like a Foxtel?
What about like meetups in France? Do you have like a bigger event there, or at least some meetups there?
Yeah, we will have like we have like a big conference in Paris / France all the time. By example, like next week is Vivatech, so I know that there is like a lot of our customer or partner going to Vivatech, so we'll pass by just to see some partners and friends, let's say. And after that, like we are going to do like a new momentum with Webflow.
Nice.
Like let's say September or October. And we are open to it when there is like some good opportunities. Let's catch up. Even you, if you come in Paris or France because of one of a specific event, just say hi. Follow, text me on LinkedIn or Instagram. And we catch up definitely.
Totally. Okay, folks, let's end this one. Florian, thank you so much for being on the show, and for the listeners, watchers, we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Thank you, John.